Welcome back and hello if you're new. So this week I'm going to be looking at what is potentially my most anticipated album of 2018, your most anticipated album of 2018, pretty much everyone's most anticipated album of 2018. Returning after their futuristic 2015 effort Meliora, Ghost are set to at long last break the silence and release their brand new album Prequelle.
Just wanna be with you in the moonlight. Just I wanna be with you.
The hype is real with this record. So the album begins with Ashes, which features this kind of atmospheric introduction with Ring Around the Roses, which, as we all know, was the children's nursery rhyme for the plague. Moving on to Rats, which is where the plague kind of begins to inhabit the album. So as far as I can tell, all of the different tracks are about the different emotional feelings and the idea of life and death within the plague. One of the biggest things I noticed on the record musically, however, is the attention to detail with the bass lines. The bass lines have always been fairly chunky in a Ghost record, but on Rats itself, in the chorus you can hear the bass line really driving the song. As well as in the verse. The sense of space on the record with Danse Macabre, where the bass sort of comes in and really does kind of push the energy along until that crescendo chorus.
In the way you kiss me, something within your eyes said it could be the last time.
One of the hallmarks of Ghost's material has always been fantastic guitar work, and Prequelle is in no shortage of that. For example, the very quick guitar lines in Faith almost are reminiscent of classic 80s speed metal, but only for a really short second. There are also guitar harmonies that are reminiscent of the classics that are Queen. For example, in Pro Memoria, where the guitar takes center stage, and the fantastic solo that's in Danse Macabre. And vocals are a lot more enhanced on this record. In particular, Pro Memoria, which almost sounds like a ballad, where Cardinal Copia is really at the forefront of all of the music here. There are also some fantastic sort of almost disco-style elements with the use of a really simple instrument that is the tambourine. It's used on Witch Image to kind of create a bit more energy, but you can hear it perfectly on Danse Macabre. Really gives it that sort of undead ABBA disco feel. There's also some fantastic atmosphere put forward. For example, on Faith, there's a section where it almost kind of sounds as though the devil is kind of speaking to you because Copia's voice has been manipulated. I'm also loving the 80s flair that the band have put together. You know, you can hear the kind of 80s influence with the Randy Rhoads style guitar work that was on Rats. But also there's some amazing keyboards, and you know, the band almost goes somewhat prog on the record. But I have to say, my hat goes off to Helvete Fonster and Miasma. These are the two instrumentals on the album, and they are absolutely, without a doubt, the strongest tracks on the record. Helvete Fonster starts off with this kind of final countdown style keyboard lead, but this 80s keyboard has got this almost Elton John-like piano bed. And then afterwards it moves into this atmospheric flute with acoustic guitar, and it has almost got a kind of pantomime vibe about it, which, you know, if anything, I would kind of relate it to Genesis's Dance with the Moonlit Night, for example.
Selling England by the pound.
And then you've got Miasma, which sticks to the Ghost formula and then throws it out the window completely, because you've got this 70s horror style introduction and then very prog sounding keyboard elements before an absolutely killer guitar solo, which then moves into it slowly transforms into this riff that will become Danse Macabre, and then a saxophone comes in to finish things off. And of course the album is ended on Life Eternal, which, you know, it creates quite a poignant reflective look on the idea of life and death, which have always been kind of very big themes in Ghost's world. But one of my favourite elements that always have been in Ghost is the idea of this arpeggio that they always like throw in. They just always make my hair stand up when they're at the end of that solo, for example in Rats. Or in Danse Macabre. In terms of negatives, I really can't find any negatives with this record. I mean, Meliora I did enjoy, but there were some elements where I thought, maybe you didn't really need that. Every second of Prequelle has been used with the most thought out proficiency possible. The artwork, I have to say, is probably one of my favourite pieces of artwork I've seen in a very long time. You know, it's got all of the magnificence that you would want in what would be, you know, almost like a goth 70s prog rock opera, because this is a really gloomy outlook, but it's also incredibly heavy. It's like that final riff in Rats, where it just makes you go like, ugh. Creating its own universe, yet allowing each song to be more accessible, yet retaining that kind of weird prog integrity that the band have always had from the word go. With 40 minutes not making it sound bloated, but rather lean and understanding exactly where everything is going. This is phenomenal songwriting that will see the band deservedly become one of the biggest bands in heavy metal in the last 20 years. Ghost's brand new album, Prequelle, is out June 1st, and you can pre-order a copy right underneath me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out my Apocalyptic Anniversary series over on Metal Sucks, and I will see you next week for another album review. Alright, thanks for tuning in.